Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajaka Ashtotar that Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajaka Ashtotar that Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 5th day of February, 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're reading text 67. 67 at the bottom of page 706. Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na chashushuve. I'm sorry. cha shushushave vachyam nacha mam yo abhyasuyati idam te natapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana nacha shushushave vachyam nachamang yom yasuyati idang te natapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana nacha shushushave vachyam nachamang yom yasuyati idam te natapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana nacha shushushave vachyam nachamam yo visuyati. Bhushan. Idam te natapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana nacha shushushave vachyam nachamam yo visuyati. Want to try? Idam te natapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana nacha shushushave vachyam nachamam yo visuyati. Idam te natapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana nacha shushushave vachyam nachamam yo visuyati. Idam te natapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana nacha shushushave vachyam nachamam yo visuyati. Anyone online? No. Idam, this, te, by you, na, never, atapaskaya, to one who is not austere, na, never, abhaktaya, to one who is not a devotee, kadachana, at any time, na, never, cha, also, ashushushave, to one who is not engaged in devotional service, vachyam, to be spoken, na, never, cha, also, mam, toward me, yaha, anyone who, abhyasuyati, is envious. Translation. Krishna says, this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Purport. Persons who have not undergone the austerities of the religious process, who have never attempted devotional service in Krishna consciousness, who have not tended a pure devotee, and especially those who are conscious of Krishna only as a historical personality, or who are envious of the greatness of Krishna, should not be told this most confidential part of knowledge. It is, however, sometimes found that even demoniac persons who are envious of Krishna, worshipping Krishna in a different way, take to the profession of explaining the Bhagavad Gita in a different way to make business. But anyone who desires actually to understand Krishna must avoid such commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita is not understandable to those who are sensuous. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Even if one is not sensuous, but is strictly following the disciplines enjoined in the Vedic scripture, if he is not a devotee, he also cannot understand Krishna. And even when one poses himself as a devotee of Krishna, but is not engaged in Krishna conscious activities, he also cannot understand Krishna. There are many persons who envy Krishna because he has explained in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the Supreme and that nothing is above him or equal to him. There are many persons who are envious of Krishna. Such persons should not be told of the Bhagavad Gita, for they cannot understand. There is no possibility of faithless persons understanding the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. Without understanding Krishna from the authority of a pure devotee, one should not try to comment upon the Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this, when you think about this verse, before you read the next verse, and it seems, well, wait a minute. ISKCON is not following this program. We're giving these Bhagavad Gitas out to people who we meet by chance in the park. You know, they're not engaged in devotional service. Who knows who they are? So we're violating this instruction of Krishna. But Prabhupada explains in the next purport. Anyway, you'll see that Prabhupada, because Krishna reiterates it in this next verse. No, he doesn't. But Prabhupada will explain that in the modern day, Krishna consciousness can be presented sincerely by someone who sincerely, even in a mixed audience. Just think of what Prabhupada did. He came to America, and his first audience to really hear, well, first of all, he was teaching to the students of Dr. Mishra, who weren't even bhaktas. They were just students of Dr. Mishra. And they weren't bhaktas by any means. And yet he was telling them the basics of Krishna consciousness. And when he finally got his own place, you know, actually the first place was on the Bowery, and he was telling people who had just walked in off the street and they were chanting a little bit, you know. So the point is that this verse, this kind should never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service. Well, that's practically 100% of the people. And yet the message is going out. So there's a concession. Because Lord Chaitanya was so, his method of preaching and what he gave, if someone simply takes it without knowing anything, if you just start chanting somehow, and you come in contact with devotees, you take a little prasadam or something, then the amount of purification you don't really know. You know, just I mean, this is what it says in the Shastra in many places. Let me see. Madhura Madhura Meta Mangalam Mangalanam Sakala Nigamavalli Satpalam Shitswarupan Sakadavipada Gitam Shraddhaya Heliyava Bhagavadanatham Tadiyate Krishna Nama. So this is a verse about the holy name. So the first line says, oh, the sweetest of the sweet, Madhura Madhura Meta Mangala, and the most auspicious of the auspicious. Mangala Mangala Sakala Nigamavalli Satpalam. It is the true fruit of the desired creeper of all the Vedic literatures, is this holy name of Krishna. Satpalam Chitswarupam, the very personification of the spiritual potency of Krishna. And then the third line, it says, Sakarapi Padigitam. If someone utters it, you know, you can't chant it just once. I'm sorry. Chanting means repeated uttering. Chanting once means you went to the temple and then for half an hour you were in the kirtan but then I didn't go back. I just chanted once, meaning that for that half an hour you chant. Anyway, so this line says Sakadapi Padigitam, even uttering the holy name once. Shraddhaya, with faith or with no faith, simply as a joke or to mimic the devotees. Shraddhaya Heliyava Brigavadanamatram. Oh, he's addressing Brigu. The best of the Brigus. Brigavada Nadamatram Tadiyate Krishna Nama. It will deliver someone from all the sinful reactions that you've accumulated through thousands of births. This is the power of the holy name. Even if you chant it without great faith and concentration and everything. So I always saw this verse and others like it as a great inducement for Harinam to go out, you know, because there's another verse in the Bhagavatam that says, even if you just hear it once, you know, I don't know if you've ever been on a party outside, but you know, people walk by, especially if you're in the downtown street, and you know, we used to go to the Harinam on 5th Avenue when I was living in Brooklyn. We drive into the city, and And for like hours we'd chant on these church steps. They let us do it. Maybe they never knew we were there. And so we're chanting. So many people go by, and then we leave. Some people, approaching, getting books, but many people go by and nothing. But they're all blessed. If you read these verses from the Shastra, it's amazing in the power, and you can understand it in your own life. If how much you benefit, and you undergo these sea changes in your consciousness, and it's so important. So anyway, therefore, it reminds me of this wonderful story about Ramanujacharya. He was a student. When he was a student of a Mayavadi. And so when he started arguing against the Mayavadi conspired to have him killed, but he failed, obviously. So Ramanuja went to another guru, and it was a Vaishnava. So he taught him a mantra. I don't think it was Hare Krishna mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, or something like that. And he said, "Oh, this is such a wonderful mantra. It will deliver you from birth and death. Anyone who chants it knows it. But very, very confidential. Don't share it with anyone because it's secret. So Ramanuja immediately got up on a high point and said, "Hey, come on, everybody! I want to give you a mantra that'll deliver you." So he was disobeying his guru, And so he gave it out to everybody. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I think that was the mantra. So that his spiritual master said, "What did you do? You disobeyed my guru." I said, "Well, I don't care. I don't care if I go to hell, as long as these people can be delivered." He's showing the real quality of a Vaishnava. So his spiritual master forgave him for that. So anyway, back to the verse at hand. This one, it's never to be explained to those who are not austere, devoted, engaged in devotional service, who are not envious of me. So the point is that it's the old principle of pearls before swine. There is an offense. There's 10 offenses to the holy name, which we want to try to avoid. The most egregious, and the one that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says is the root of all the other offenses, is inattention. It's chanting away, thinking something else, like that. That's an offense. And what happens is that eventually you lose interest. Why should I do this, But if you, so that, and we chant them in the morning, we recite them to consider the holy name of Krishna to be equal to or independent of the holy name of the demigods, to blaspheme those who have dedicated their lives, sincere devotees, to spreading the holy name. I chant these every morning, I can't remember now. To think that the glories of the holy name are imaginations. Now, an imagination is something that's imaginary. An imagination, but imagination is the faculty of imagination. It has two meanings. Anyway, in other words, not to really believe the Shastra when it says it has all these powers, it can evoke love of God and give you liberation, all that. Anyway, it goes on like that. 10 offenses. So the point is that if you don't avoid these offenses, then you won't quickly get the real fruit of the holy name. Liberation is like the first installment. What we're really after is the greatest treasure, which is love for Krishna. The holy name it can purify us like nothing else. There's a beautiful ashtaka called the Keval Ashtaka. I don't know if you have my poetry file, it's in there. And the first verse has about this: Madaram Madarebhyopi, Mangalebhyopi Mangalam, Pavanam Pavanebhyopi, Harir Nama Kevalam. That last line, to those who are a little familiar with this famous verse, Harir Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva 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 Gataranyata. That in this age, the only process, there is no other way for achieving the ultimate goal of life and counteracting the ills of Kali Yuga than chanting the holy name of Krishna. So that's in there. So this verse says, of sweet things, it's the sweetest you will taste at any time. Of things that bring good fortune, it's the perfect paradigm. Of things that purify, it purifies most powerfully. The holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. Text 2. From Brahma's realm atop the sky, down to the lowly grass, illusion reigns in Maya Devi's treacherous morass. You know what morass is? Like a swamp, it's like quicksand. Very dangerous. Maya Devi's treacherous, the truth, the only truth, the name of Sri Hari. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. He's the Guru, He's the Father, He's the friend most true. And she's the real mother who most kindly teaches you to always chant and hear the holy name of Shri Hari. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Remember that our final breath may come at any time, no matter if we're old and sick or in our youthful prime. So young and old alike should chant the name incessantly. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Lord Shri Hari forever dwells wherever devotees whose hearts are filled with... sorry. Hare Krishna. Haribol. Lord Shri Hari forever dwells wherever devotees whose hearts are fixed in Him and free of all impurities uplift their voice high and sing His name in ecstasy. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Alas, with sorrow, what great pain, the worst calamity, for people to forget the holy name of Shri Hari. Although the name's a priceless gem, mere broken glass they see. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Just fill your ears, just fill them with the name of Shri Hari. Just chant the name with all sincerity. Just sing the name, just sing the holy name eternally. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. It makes this world appear like bits of straw upon the ground. Resplendently it reigns supreme. Divinity and sound is filled with transcendental bliss and peerless purity. The holy name of Shri Hari is surely all that be. Now, there's a history behind this poem. No one knew who wrote it for years. It was circulating in ISKCON and appears in this. Who knows? And then someone did some research and found that it was part of a larger poem of 100 verses written by this devotee named Nilakanta Goswami, who was a contemporary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I don't think he was a disciple, but Bhaktivinoda had very great, high respect for him. And Bhaktivinoda read these 100 verses, and he wrote very high praise for the whole thing. It was all very nice. He may have been the one who pulled out these 8, because there's no 9th verse. There's no what is called the Palashruti. When you have an ashtaka written as an ashtaka, then they'll give a 9th verse, and here's the benefit that you get from hearing this. Right? So I composed a little 9th verse. Inspired to glorify the holy name of Shri Hari, Shri Nilakanta wrote this hymn in Sanskrit poetry. I pray that those who hear this lowly version made by me will chant the holy name of Shri Hari in ecstasy. Anyway, I thought I'd share that. So, back to the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is saying this knowledge is very confidential and it shouldn't be shared with everybody. That's what he's been saying here. And Prabhupada is reiterating that in the purport to text 67. 68. Now, what is that knowledge? Well, that's the text 65 and 66. So I'll run through those two in my little poem on that. Just think of me, become devoted, worship me, and bow down low. You come to me, O friend, I promise you this boon I shall bestow. Give up all other dharmas and surrender only unto me. Your sins I'll nullify, O Arjuna, from anxiety be free. So that's what's the confidential knowledge that shouldn't be shared with everybody. Text 68. Did we do 68? Yahidam padamam guhyam madbhakte shabidhasyati bhaktim mai param kritva mame vaishyatya sangshayaha. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. Purport. Generally it is advised that the Bhagavad Gita be discussed amongst the devotees only. So that's what Krishna just said. For those who are not devotees will understand neither Krishna nor the Bhagavad Gita. Those who do not accept Krishna as he is, and the Bhagavad Gita as it is, should not try to explain the Bhagavad Gita whimsically and become offenders. The Bhagavad Gita should be explained to persons who are ready to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is a subject matter for the devotees only, and not for philosophical speculators. Anyone, however, who tries sincerely to present the Bhagavad Gita as it is, will advance in devotional activities and reach the pure devotional state of life. As a result of such pure devotion, he is sure to go back home, back to Godhead. Now I have to confess that when I first undertook to, give these classes back in, I don't know, I think it was 89 when I first came, maybe 90. This verse was part of the reason. It says, anyone who explains this, well, not how much can I explain, but at least I can read Prabhupada's explanations. And then it says, anyone who tries sincerely to present the Bhagavad Gita will advance. As a result, go back to Godhead. So you're invited. You have friends. You can also read the Bhagavad Gita with them and start a little reading circle. Go back to Godhead. Now, I wanted to say that inevitably, I'm an editor all day, so it couldn't come. Now, you may notice that I add the before Bhagavad Gita. And there's no does before any of the Bhagavad Gitas in this purport. There's 5 of them, I count. 6 of them, if you count one little purport. But that doesn't mean that Prabhupada didn't dictate the Bhagavad Gita. He very well may have said the Bhagavad Gita. But because they had established in the introduction, when Prabhupada was doing the introduction, he rarely said the Bhagavad Gita. He would just say Bhagavad Gita. However, in Prabhupada's first canto and second canto of the Bhagavatam, which are the only books that he printed, he did them basically all alone, where he got proofs back from the printer and put in corrections and gave it back, and then got some more proofs back, and so the standard he set there for the Bhagavad Gita, which he had no diacritics, it was a Bhagavad Gita, G-E-E-T-A, Bhagavad Gita, practically 100% the Bhagavad Gita. So when he had time to go over, otherwise it was all a matter of race against time to get these books out. So anyway, the standard was that so in all the books that I revised, which includes the Ishopanishad, the Krishna book, and the CC and the TLC, I put the in there, and we're putting the does in. So that's why I say the. But there's another thing on this first purport. We started with 67, right? Right in the middle of the purport, in the middle of page 707, Prabhupada writes, actually the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita is not understandable to those who are sensuous, who are involved in sense gratification. That word purpose in that context is actually supposed to be purport. The meaning of the Bhagavad Gita. It makes sense, the purpose, you can't understand the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. But actually, Prabhupada would sometimes use that word purpose to mean purport. Now that's not, you won't find that in the modern dictionaries, in American dictionaries. But you'll find it in the Oxford English Dictionary. We always have to remember that English was Prabhupada's second language, and he learned English in the early part of the 20th century in Scottish Churches College in Calcutta, or I think, yeah, in Calcutta. So he was learning English, not American English. And if you go to that dictionary, which I have done, you will find that in the list of meanings for purpose, one of the purpose is purport, or meaning. So in this case, it means that. And there are other instances in Prabhupada's books where, so if you run into it and it says that doesn't quite, just when you say purpose, see if purport will fit in better meaning. So just watch out for that. I thought I'd add that in there. Okay. So this is the benefit of preaching the Bhagavad Gita. And this was Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Nityananda and Haridas Thakur. When he sent them out to preach in Mayapur, they would go to every home and they would ask the people to chant the holy name, So he gave them a little formula. Bolo Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shika. You see? And if they did that, they're also following the fourth principle, which is that you follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita itself, the instructions. So I put that into English. It says, just chant Sri Krishna's name and worship him with all your heart, follow his instructions, and to others them impart. That's the ISKCON in a summary, sutra form. And if we do that, Lord Chaitanya said, whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. So that's what we're trying to do. All right, let's go on. We can finish this. There's only three more verses here, or 4 more. Nata tasma manusheshu kashchan me priyakrittamaha bhavita nata me tasmad anyak priyataro bhuvi There is no servant, I'm sorry, I didn't ask it. Najatasma manusheshu kaschan me priyakrittamaha bhavita nacha me tasmad anyak priyataro bhuvi. Now this goes back to the previous verse, I was explaining. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he or she who teaches this, explains this supreme secret to the devotees. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. This is a famous verse. Adyeshyate cha yahimam dharmyam samvadam avyayo jnana yagyena tenaham ishtaksyam iti me matihi. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me with his intelligence. 71. Shraddhavananusuyasche. I'm sorry. Shraddhavananusuyascha. Shrunuyadapi yo naraha. Sopi mukta subhalokan. Prapnuyat punya karmanam. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. Purport. In the 67th verse of this chapter, the Lord explicitly forbade the Gitas being spoken to those who are envious of the Lord. In other words, the Bhagavad Gita is for the devotees only. But it so happens that sometimes the devotee of the Lord will hold open class. And in that class, not all the students are expected to be devotees. Why do such persons hold open class? It is explained here that although not everyone is a devotee, still there are many men who are not envious of Krishna, and women. They have faith in him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become at once free from all sinful reactions, and after that attain to the planetary system where all righteous persons are situated. Therefore, simply by hearing the Bhagavad Gita, even a person who does not try to be a pure devotee attains the result of righteous activities. Thus, a pure devotee of the Lord gives everyone a chance to become free from all sinful reactions and to become a devotee of the Lord. Generally, those who are free from sinful reactions, those who are righteous, very easily take to Krishna consciousness. The word punya karmanam is very significant here. This refers to the performance of great sacrifices like the Ashwamedha Yajna mentioned in the Vedic literature. Those who are righteous in performing devotional service but who are not pure can attain the planetary system of the pole star, or Dhruvaloka, where Dhruva Maharaj is residing. He is a great devotee of the Lord, and he has a special planet which is called the pole star. Katchadeta trutam parta tvayaikagrena chetasa katchid agyana sammoha pranashtaste dhananjaya. O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? Purport. The Lord was acting as the spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore it was his duty, Krishna's duty, to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in its proper perspective. If not, the Lord is ready to re-explain any point or the whole Bhagavad Gita, if so required. Actually, anyone who hears the Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. The Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. Well, that's a pretty hopeful statement. Just by reading this Bhagavad Gita. By the way, I want to reiterate that I have this on recording, this whole Bhagavad Gita, including the purports. If you have it? Okay, you send me an email. I'll send you a link. Okay, remember the email? Maybe I need to write it down. Dravida108 at Gmail. Oh, maybe you did. Maybe I didn't see. Yeah, for the. Yeah, I think you got my email. Yeah. All right, I'll check my email. Because I got a lot of emails, and I may have slipped by. Okay, so now here's the key question: Is Arjuna now ready to fight? Is his illusion dispelled? Let's see what happens. Arjuna vacha nashto moha smritir labdha trat prasadan mayachyuta stitos migatad sandeha karishye vachanam tava. So those last three words, if we can sincerely say that to Krishna, our life is perfect. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and am prepared to act according to your instructions." Purport. The constitutional position of a living entity, represented by Arjuna, is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. He is meant for self-discipline. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the actual position of the living entity is that of eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by material nature. But in serving the Supreme Lord, he becomes the liberated servant of God. The living entity's constitutional position is to be a servitor. He has to serve either the illusory Maya or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he is in his normal condition. But if he prefers to serve the illusory external energy, then certainly he will be in bondage. In illusion, the living entity is serving in this material world. He is bound by his lust and desires. Yet he thinks of himself as the master of the world. This is called illusion. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over, and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act according to his desires. The last illusion, the last snare of Maya to trap the living entity, is the proposition that he is God. The living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditioned soul, but God. He is so unintelligent that he does not think that if he were God, then how could he be in doubt? That he does not consider. So that is the last snare of illusion. Actually, to become free from the illusory energy is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and agree to act according to his order. The word moha is very important in this verse. Moha refers to that which is opposed to knowledge. Actually, real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is eternally a servitor of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not a servant, that he is the master of this material world, for he wants to lord it over the material nature. That is his illusion. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of a pure devotee. When that illusion is over, one agrees to act in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. A conditioned soul, illusioned by the external energy of matter, does not know that the Supreme Lord is the Master, who is full of knowledge and who is the proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotees. He is the friend of everyone, and he is especially inclined to his devotee. He is the controller of this material nature and of all living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time, and he is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. One who does not know him is under the spell of illusion. He does not become a devotee, but a servitor of Maya. Arjuna, however, after hearing the Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became free from all illusion. He could understand that Krishna was not only his friend, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he understood Krishna factually. So to study the Bhagavad Gita is to understand Krishna factually. When a person is in full knowledge, he naturally surrenders to Krishna. When Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plan to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, demonic population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapons, his arrows and bow, to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have a few minutes left. Can you turn the heat off? Thanks. So this is a successful culmination of Krishna's presenting the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna has given up his illusion and he's ready to fight, even though he's got this dear friends and worshipable guru and teacher on the other side. And Bhishma Dev is on the other side. I think it's today, or was it yesterday? Bhishmashtami. I think yesterday, the appearance day of Bhishma. If you look at yesterday's calendar. You don't have it there? How about today? Anyway, you have a faulty calendar. All right, we'll figure that out later. All right, so now Sanjaya gives the last couple of verses. I guess we'll probably finish it on Monday. So Sanjaya Uvacha. Sanjaya Uvacha. Ityaham Vasudevasya Partasya cha Mahatmanaha Samvadamimam Ashrausham Adbhutam Romaharshanam. Sanjaya said, "Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end." Purport. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra inquired from his secretary Sanjaya, "What happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra?" The entire study was related to the heart of Sanjaya by the grace of his spiritual master, Vyas. So you have to understand, Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra are back in Hastinapur. Dhritarashtra is not on the battlefield. He's blind. He can't do anything. So they're back in Hastinapur, or in Hastinapur. And then Kurukshetra is hundreds of miles away. But he had the mystical power of being able to tune in and be able to hear that conversation at a distance. Okay. Sanjaya, thus explained the theme of the battlefield. The conversation was wonderful because such an important conversation between two great souls had never taken place before and would not take place again. It was wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity, Arjuna, a great devotee of the Lord. If we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Sanjaya realized this, and as he began to understand it, he related the conversation to Dhritarashtra. Now it is concluded that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is victory. That will be there in text 78. 75. Vyasa prasadat Shrutavan Etad Guyam Aham Param Yogam Yogeshwarat Krishnat Sakshat Katayatak Swayam. By the mercy of Vyas, this is Sanjaya still speaking. By the mercy of Vyas, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. Purport. Vyas was the spiritual master of Sanjaya, and Sanjaya admits that it was by Vyas's mercy that he could understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that one has to understand Krishna not directly, but through the medium of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the transparent medium, although it is true that the experience is still direct. This is the mystery of the disciplic succession. When the spiritual master is bona fide, then one can hear the Bhagavad Gita directly, as Arjuna heard it. There are many mystics and yogis all over the world, but Krishna is the master of all yoga systems. Krishna's instruction is explicitly stated in the Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto Krishna. One who does so is the topmost yogi. This is confirmed in the last verse of the 6th chapter, Yoginam api sarvesham. Narada Muni is the direct disciple of Krishna and the spiritual master of Vyas. Therefore, Vyas is as bona fide as Arjuna, because he comes in disciplic succession, and Sanjaya is a direct disciple of Vyas. Therefore, by the grace of Vyasadeva, Sanjaya's senses were purified, and he could see and hear Krishna directly. One who directly hears Krishna can understand this confidential knowledge. If one does not come to the disciplic succession, he cannot hear Krishna. Therefore, his knowledge is always imperfect, at least as far as understanding the Bhagavad Gita is concerned. In the Bhagavad Gita, all the yoga systems, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga are explained. Krishna is the master of all such mysticism. It is to be understood, however, that as Arjuna was fortunate enough to understand Krishna directly, so by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjaya was able to hear Krishna directly. Actually, there is no difference between hearing directly from Krishna and hearing directly from Krishna via a bona fide spiritual master like Vyasa. The spiritual master is the representative of Vyasadeva also. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, on the birthday of the spiritual master, the disciples conduct the ceremony called Vyasa Puja. And you may know that this is called the Vyasa, everyone calls it a Vyasasan, but it's actually a Vyasasana. I'm the only one in the movement that says that, if you sound it out. So, I'm not Vyasa, obviously, but this is a Vyasasana, meaning that I'm sitting here, and what I'm saying, especially when I'm reading Prabhupada's books, it's a very responsible position. You can't start saying nonsense from here, you know. So I feel very honored that I'm allowed to sit on this Vyasasana. So it's winding up. The next verse is 76. 76 is the next verse. I don't think we'll have time to finish it, but we'll come up to the last verse and then share that. So he goes on, Sanjay. Rajan sangsmritya samvadam imamadbhutam kesavarjanayo punyam rishyami chamuhurmuhu. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment. This word rishyami, it also means this is hair standing on end. Purport: the understanding of the Bhagavad Gita is so transcendental that anyone who becomes conversant with the topics of Arjuna and Krishna becomes righteous, and he cannot forget such talks. This is the transcendental position of spiritual life. In other words, one who hears the Gita from the right source, directly from Krishna, attains full Krishna consciousness. The result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened, and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. Now, who can write that? I mean, if someone is, not experiencing that, it would sound hollow just on the page, right? Because Prabhupada is living it. He's writing from experience here. Which is unique, in this Bhagavad Gita. You pick up some other book, you're not going to find out, someone describing like that. So he's directly relating to Sanjaya here. Tate sangsmritya rupamat yadbhutam hare vismayo me mahan rajan rishyami chapunak panaha. O king, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. Purport: it appears that Sanjaya also, by the grace of Vyasa, could see the universal form of Krishna exhibited to Arjuna. It is, of course, said that Lord Krishna had never exhibited such a form before. It was exhibited to Arjuna only, yet some great devotees could also see the universal form of Krishna when it was shown to Arjuna, and Vyasa was one of them. He is one of the great devotees of the Lord, and he is considered to be a powerful incarnation. Vyasa disclosed this form to his disciple Sanjaya, who remembered that wonderful form of Krishna exhibited to Arjuna and enjoyed it repeatedly. So that 11th chapter it's a very interesting chapter because it's all the universal form, but the last verse of the chapter, Prabhupada said, this is the essence of the whole Gita. Yat karmakun mat karmakun mat parabho mat bhaktas sandivarjata niyavaira sabhuteshu yaksamameti pandava. One who works for me, mat karmakun mat padamo, who recognize me as the Supreme. Mat karmakun mat padamo mat bhaktas sangavarjataha. One who is my devotee, free of all other attachments, sangavarjataha. Nirvaira has no enmity toward others. No enemy, nirvaira sarvabhuteshu, amongst any living being. Yaksamam eti pandava. Such a devotee comes to me for sure. And then two first sentences in that That purport, Prabhupada said, this is the essence of the whole Gita. And that was one of the first verses I ever memorized. All right, we have just enough time. I'm going to read it. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Shiva Jeho Bhutir, Dhruvaniti Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita began with an inquiry of Dhritarashtra's. He was hopeful of the victory of his sons, assisted by the great warriors like Bhishma, Drona, and Kṛṣṇa. He was hopeful that the victory would be on his side, but after describing the scene on the battlefield, Sanjaya told the king, "You are thinking of victory, but my opinion is that where Krishna and Arjuna are present, there will be all good fortune." Close quote. He directly confirmed that Dhritarashtra could not expect victory for his side. Victory was certain for the side of Arjuna because Krishna was there. Krishna's acceptance of the post of charioteer for Arjuna was an exhibition of another opulence. Krishna is full of all opulences, and renunciation is one of them. There are many instances of such renunciation, for Krishna is also the master of renunciation. The fight was actually between Duryodhana and Yudhishthira. Arjuna was fighting on the behalf of his elder brother Yudhishthira. Because Krishna and Arjuna were on the side of Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira's victory was certain. The battle was to decide who would rule the world, and Sanjaya predicted that the power would be transferred to Yudhishthira. It is also predicted here that Yudhishthira, after gaining victory in this battle, would flourish more and more because not only was he righteous and pious, but he was also a strict moralist. He never spoke a lie during his life. There are many less intelligent persons who take the Bhagavad Gita to be a discussion of topics between two friends on a battlefield. But such a book cannot be scripture. Some may protest that Krishna incited Arjuna to fight, which is immoral. But the reality of the situation is clearly stated. The Bhagavad Gita is the supreme instruction in morality. The supreme instruction of morality is stated in the 9th chapter, in the 34th verse, Manmana Bhava Madbhakta. One must become a devotee of Krishna, and the essence of all religion is to surrender unto Krishna. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekang sharanam vraja. The instructions of the Bhagavad Gita constitute the supreme process of religion and of morality. All other processes may be purifying and may lead to this process, but the last instruction of the Gita is the last word in all morality and religion. Surrender unto Krishna. This is the verdict of the 18th chapter. From the Bhagavad Gita we can understand that to realize oneself by philosophical speculation and by meditation is one process, but to fully surrender unto Krishna is the highest perfection. This is the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. The path of regulative principles according to the orders of social life and according to the different courses of religion may be a confidential path of knowledge. But although the rituals of religion are confidential, meditation and cultivation of knowledge are still more confidential, and surrender unto Krishna in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness is the most confidential instruction. That is the essence of the 18th chapter. Another feature of the Bhagavad Gita is that the actual truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The absolute truth is realized in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Perfect knowledge of the absolute truth means perfect knowledge of Krishna. If one understands Krishna, then all the departments of knowledge are part and parcel of that understanding. Krishna is transcendental, for he is always situated in his eternal, internal potency. The living entities are manifested of his energy and are divided into two classes, eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. Such living entities are innumerable, and they are considered fundamental parts of Krishna. Material energy is manifested into 24 divisions. The creation is effected by eternal time, and it is created and dissolved by external energy. This manifestation of the cosmic world repeatedly becomes visible and invisible. In the Bhagavad Gita, 5 principal subject matters have been discussed: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, material nature, the living entities, eternal time, and all kinds of activities. All is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. All conceptions of the Absolute Truth, impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and any other transcendental conception exist within the category of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although superficially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, material nature, and time appear to be different, nothing is different from the Supreme. But the Supreme is always different from everything. Well, that's it. We'll have to figure that one out. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that of inconceivable oneness and difference. This system of philosophy constitutes perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. The living entity, in his original position, is pure spirit. He is just like an atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. Thus Lord Krishna may be compared to the sun and the living entities to sunshine. Because the living entities are the marginal energy of Krishna, they have a tendency to be in contact either with the material energy or with the spiritual energy. In other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord, and because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he has a particle of independence. By proper use of that independence, he comes under the direct order of Krishna. Thus he attains his normal condition in the pleasure-giving potency. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 18th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of its conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. Hare Krishna. So we have to end with a poem. Everybody dies, nobody dies. Wake up and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.